Good afternoon. Welcome to week 4. I'm your instructor, Melinda Schneider. This week we're going to be talking about leading collaboratively, and we're going to be using VoiceThread. VoiceThread is a little bit different from our regular web conferencing. The slides do not advance themselves. You will need to use the arrows in the bottom right-hand corner to go forwards or backwards. You also can pause the recording at any time and then hit play to start it again. Again, this is class 4. The date's February 22nd, 2019. I also wanted to mention that during the VoiceThread, you will see 4 slides with different phases listed. You can just advance over these slides. There's no recording that goes along with these slides. So for this class, like all of our other classes, we're using the book Thinking Collaboratively, Learning in a Community of Inquiry by D. Randy Garrison. This week specifically, we're going to be covering Chapter 8, which is titled Leading Collaboratively. During the VoiceThread, you will be answering prompts. And there's 3 different ways you're going to be answering the prompts. One is with your headphones, one is with the telephone, and one is with a video. So to do this, you will click on the plus sign, which is at the bottom middle of the screen. This will bring up a little bubble with different icons on it. The telephone icon, you'll click on that. It'll ask you to enter your phone number. You'll click Call Me. You'll answer your telephone, and then you'll be able to leave your comments over the telephone. For your headphones, you'll click on the microphone icon, record your comments, click Stop Recording, and click Save. If you want to re-record your comment, you would just click Cancel. And for your video camera, you'll click on the video camera icon, record your comments, again, click Stop Recording, and click Save. If you want to re-record your comment, click Cancel. If you decide you don't like your comment and want to re-record it, hover over your comment in the panel on the left-hand side, click on the trash can, and then hit Delete. I recommend using full screen to watch your VoiceThread video. To do this, click in the box that looks like a square in the top right corner of your screen. To exit the full screen, just hit the Escape button on your computer keyboard. The learning objectives for this week are, after this web conference, students will be able to describe 2 advantages of leading collaboratively, name at least 2 barriers to collaborative leadership, explain the difference between increasing communication and increasing collaboration, and explain the difference between collaboration and cooperation. We've already talked a lot about the community of inquiry and its framework, but these principles can also be applied to leading collaboratively. And this leadership can be practiced in all types of organizations. The framework can be applied in companies, nonprofits, and outside of education. So what exactly is leading collaboratively? Well, it means to engage everyone from across all levels of the organization. Leading collaboratively means to promote open communication, group cohesion, and commitment. To create and support opportunities for all employees to share and work together to solve problems or even brainstorm. Truly collaborative leadership does not mean simply exchanging more information or communicating more with your employees. There's a big difference between communication and collaboration. While both of these are important, of course, leadership involves actually engaging your employees. So this is our first voice prompt. You're going to answer the question, how could collaborative leadership be put into practice where you work? And provide at least one specific example or more if you can think of more. So to do this, you'll click on the plus sign on the bottom of the screen. You'll click on the microphone icon. So you'll be using your headphones to record your comments. You'll click allow if necessary. Then you'll begin recording your comment once the countdown is complete. Once you're finished, click on stop recording at the bottom of the screen and then click save to save your comment. Or if you want to re-record it, hit cancel and you can start all over again.
Collaborative leadership is practiced quite a bit where I work. So we have general unit department meetings that happen once a month. And then in addition to that, there are some subcommittees within that unit. So they also meet regularly. In addition to that, my supervisor who oversees the department meets either weekly, biweekly, or monthly with each subunit or individual within the department to make sure everyone is on the same page. We're working out any issues that might arise. And it gives us an opportunity, even for those individuals who may not work as closely with one another, to sit down every month and get up to speed on what each other are working on, how it's impacting our students, and how we can continue to help one another even outside of our own job responsibilities.
Collaborative leadership in the office where I work is pretty much central to how we function. I work with a pretty small group of people. It's me and 4 other employees, and we have a lot of responsibilities for making sure that things get taken care of in the medical school here at Wright State. And so it's very important with people being in and out in the classroom or in meetings or monitoring tests or just being in other areas that they need to go so that they can get other activities done. It's necessary for us to be able to rely on one another, to be informed, and to really communicate effectively. And in that regard, our supervisor, he's one of the 5 people, he really relies on the 4 of us to use our skills to the best of our ability. And he does rely on us to give him information and to provide feedback. He is a true believer of this collaborative leadership idea.
So our book talks about some of the advantages of leading collaboratively. It's easier to solve complex organizational problems, allows you to discover diverse perspectives and ideas from your employees. It's easier when you involve all employees to come up with solutions. Uh, Employees offer different viewpoints and can create creative solutions. It gives them a feeling of inclusion and importance. So if you're an employee, why is this important to you? Why should you care if you have collaborative leadership in your organization? Well, it allows you to be included in decision making. You have input. You're part of organizational change and solving challenges when issues arise. Makes you feel more valued and more satisfied in your job. You get to give your input, and it also gives you the chance to work with other employees and learn from them. So one day, if you're a leader in some type of organization, what would be the advantage of you embracing this style? Well, it strengthens the relationships of the teams that work for you. It improves the morale of the teams or groups that work for you. And it allows you, there's not silos created because people get to work together and get to know each other, and it can create loyalty for your organization. It allows you to hear multiple voices, not just your immediate reports, and encourages cooperation among everyone in your organization. So this is our second video thread prompt, and you're going to be using your telephone. The prompt question is, what are some possible disadvantages or weaknesses of leading collaboratively? And the directions are, you'll click on the plus sign on the bottom of the screen, click on the telephone icon, enter your telephone number, it can be a landline or a cell number, and then click on Call Me. You answer your telephone when it rings, and then you record your comment when prompted and hang up when you're finished.
I don't think there are a lot of disadvantages or weaknesses to leading collaboratively, but I do think there can be a lot of drawbacks depending on the type of leadership. So if you have a leader who really tries to avoid conflict. That can be problematic for the whole group because some issues between individuals or problems that you encounter with outside entities may never get solved if you don't have leaders who are willing to kind of tackle those problems and take care of them. I think also sometimes leading collaboratively, you can have too big of a group, and in times like that, there are just, as they say, too many cooks in the kitchen, too many people with input, too many meetings, too much discussion, too much getting off track. So I would say those could be two weaknesses in leading collaboratively, but I also think there are really efficient ways to kind of resolve those problems, recognize when they're going wrong, and you have to have somebody willing to take charge and make sure that those kinks are worked out.
So while I think that the concept of collaborative leadership is an excellent one and one that doesn't have lots of drawbacks, I think sometimes reality can kind of be a rude wake-up call in those situations. And I think that it really comes down to the strength and the ability of the leader, but I think it also has to do with the culture that that leader has promoted amongst the group that they are working with. So I think it's important that you start with a group that is not, that understands where you're going. Like they have to have a central direction that they understand. And so making sure that that's set forth at the beginning is absolutely necessary. Otherwise, you can run into problems where you can get on tangents, or you may not be, and the leader may not be able to bring all of that back to focus. I think it's also, with too many people speaking, it can be overwhelming for somebody who doesn't feel fully prepared to take that on. And I think you have to, I think there is always a chance that you as a leader can get feedback of some kind, whatever kind, that may not be what you want to hear. And so maintaining a form of neutrality as a leader can also be a real challenge, and that's just the reality of the situation.
So when you're in a leadership type of position, how do you increase collaboration and communication? Well, like we said before, collaboration means more than simply just exchanging information. It's not just giving employees more information and thinking that that's going to be enough. You need to create opportunities for meaningful engagement. You can do this by providing constant feedback to your employees, turning mistakes that may happen into learning opportunities and not failures, and also looking for more learning opportunities for your employees even outside the organization, and giving them professional development opportunities and ways to meet other people outside the organization. So if you're in a leadership position, don't confuse cooperation with collaboration. They're not equal. Cooperation means you're dividing the work group among your employees or a group of employees. Collaboration involves people working together. Collaboration isn't just getting along, and true collaboration is hard. It means the leader has to give up control and let others contribute. For collaboration to exist, there needs to be trust, and everyone obviously needs to work together. In cooperation, each person does their own part, but they don't do the work together. With all of the advantages of collaborative leadership, why is it more prominent in organizations? Why do we not see more leaders embracing the framework and principles? Well, part of it has to do with the bureaucracy or the policies and procedures that are in place in many companies, and also the hierarchy that they have. Managers and supervisors are seen as more important than employees. So that also creates fear, distrust, and discomfort for employees to actually share and take place in group meetings and feel like that they are included. There's also a time issue sometimes where they don't want to take employees away from their work to take place in feedback and brainstorming activities. So the next VoiceThread prompt is going to be a video camera prompt. The question is, how could you incorporate collaborative leadership at your organization? So the directions for this, you'll also click on the plus sign at the bottom of the screen and then on the camera icon. Make sure you're appearing in the video window that appears on the left of the screen. You'll begin recording your video once the countdown is complete. Click stop recording at the bottom of the screen when you're finished, and then you click save to save your video, or cancel if you want to discard it and record another.
We incorporate collaborative leadership quite a bit in my workplace. So that allows for a lot of communication, a lot of opportunity for individuals who might not work as directly with each other to meet regularly and understand what's going on in the different areas. Because at the end of the day, I think even if you don't work directly, you can impact other areas and maybe not even knowing it. So one way that we do that is through series of meetings. We also meet with all of our staff regularly, even if we don't work in the same department. And we ask for help when we need it. We wear many hats here, so it's nice to have employees that are willing to jump in and help you, even if it's something that falls outside of your job responsibility. And I think it's very important to set that tone in the office place, so you know that you have people you can count on. Things come up. You have crises type situations in your personal life, at your workplace. So knowing you have people to count on is a great way for collaborative leadership to have an impact in your workplace.
So I work in kind of a unique situation where I'm part of an almost self-sufficient part of a university that is not totally independent, but is mostly independent as far as functioning goes from the bigger university as a whole. And the only reason that we're able to do that is because we have great leaders who do really enforce a collaborative policy. It's necessary for all of us to have a general idea of what's going on as a whole. And one reason that's possible is because we have a small enough population and a specific enough population that of students that we can really all focus on that one set of information. And it takes everybody to work together to do that. But that means we have to have the ability to discuss what's going right and what's going wrong with our supervisors and the people who are really leading this organization. And I know a lot of the different departments have small weekly meetings amongst themselves, whether that's about a particular class or that's about how a session went. And it's constantly a situation where they'll sit down and they'll talk about what went right, what went wrong, what are the students giving us as feedback, and how do we feel about this? And our leaders take that and they really run with it, and they make sure that everybody's voice is heard and is incorporated into the final decision.
Today we've talked about the community of inquiry framework and how it can be applied to collaborative leadership in many organizations. We talked about how leading collaboratively involves open communication, engaging your employees, and creating group cohesion. Also, that leading collaboratively helps organizations solve complex problems and discover diverse perspectives and ideas from their employees, but that there are some barriers to overcome when you're trying to lead collaboratively, and those need to be eliminated or minimized for collaborative leadership to be used successfully in an organization. This is the last VoiceThread prompt, and this is also going to be where you'll use your microphone to record a comment. And the prompt is, what might be different at your organization if collaborative leadership was the exclusive type of leadership practiced? So directions, click on the plus sign on the bottom of the screen. You'll click on the microphone, click allow if you need to do that. Begin recording your comment once the countdown is complete, and stop the recording at the bottom of the screen when you're finished. You'll click save to save your comment or cancel to discard your comment and record another.
I think there could be a lot of positive changes if my organization used collaborative leadership exclusively. We do have a lot of leadership and collaboration that happens here, but sometimes that results in specific units just working together, and there's not as much opportunity for interdepartmental collaboration, so that can lead to some miscommunications and misunderstandings, not only about projects, but about what people do. So I have noticed, as you know, the new head came on board several years ago, that a lot of those issues have kind of fallen to the wayside because he has forced individuals who might not work together often to start partnering up and working on projects together, participating in meetings together. So I think it's really bridged a lot of the gaps that used to exist between different departments and different positions.
Well, I think that there's already a lot of collaborative leadership really happening in the place where I work. I can't help but feel like there are still some leaders that are a little resistant to it, and that's understandable. It's unfamiliar, and if you're accustomed to doing things one way versus another way, it can be difficult to change. However, I think also there's some resistance to it because that's not necessarily how the larger organization that we're a part of functions. Um, but I think there is a lot of it, but I think it could always improve that. I think that there are a whole lot of people in our organization that have good ideas and strong opinions that are really necessary to hear, but often they don't. And having leaders that really encourage and foster an environment where that is just part of how they function it could be an incredibly great thing for everybody involved.
Just a few quick reminders. Our last class is next Tuesday, February 26, 2019, 4 to 6 p.m. So if you didn't answer all of the prompts while you were listening or going through the VoiceThread, ensure you return and complete all of the prompts by Tuesday, February 26, 2019 at midnight. If you have any questions, you can submit them to me in Pilot by going to the Communications tab and under Discussions, posting a question. You can also email me questions in Pilot on the Communications tab again under Email.